What's going on? It's the RapNerd with Shazam Fury of the Gods just dropping this weekend. I figured I would make a video ranking my DCEU films. I don't think I've ever done this on my channel, so what better time than to do it now since we have a new entry into the DCEU, which is closing out and transitioning over to the DCU. So let's get into it. But before I start, two things. First, this is just my list. If you don't agree, that's fine. If you think my choices in my ranking is blasphemous, that's fine. But just remember, it's my list. This is not disrespect to your list. So please don't disrespect me in the comments. No ridicule. None of that. Just respect the choice for what it is. All right? So that's out the way. Second thing, I like all of these movies. I'm going to say that. There's not one film in the DCEU that I hate or that I mention here. And when I say DCEU, I'm talking about all the films within the timeline from Man of Steel to Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods. So Batman, the Batman doesn't count. I'm wearing a shirt to show I'm neutral, that I love it all. Joker doesn't count. So just had to put that out there. So at number 12, I'm going to start with Wonder Woman 84. Again, this is probably my least favorite of the list, you know, as far as quality and just my rewatching of it, just because I wasn't really a huge fan with some of the things that they did. I think Cheetah was a bit underused. I think trying to make Wonder Woman way softer than she was in 2017 was the wrong choice to go. You know, I actually don't mind the storyline for the most part, but it's just certain things like bringing back Steve Trevor the way they did. You know, his soul influences somebody's body, and it's just weird. I don't know. It felt like something out of a Saturday morning cartoon in a bad way, you know. But I do have a soft spot for this film because my daughter, she really enjoys it. She loves the beginning with little Diana competing with the rest of the Amazons, and she even likes the mall scene as well. So her liking this makes me like it more. So again, I don't hate it, but I do think that with some retooling, it could have been way better. Because I do like how it's shot. I think it's a beautifully lit movie. I think they capture the time of the 80s as far as the way that the visual of the film looks. I mean, it has a lot of film grain on it, so I really do like the aesthetic. Of course, the score is still good. I even like the action scenes. Like, I think going with the more how can I say it, wire work the way they did, I like it, because what I feel like Patty was trying to do here was make a film that looked, well, not looked like, she wanted to make a film that felt like it was created in the 80s. So I understand the cheesy factor and all these different things that she was doing. So that part I do like a lot. I just think that there are story beats that just don't work and make sense. If had those been fixed out, I would have liked it. The gold armor is dope. Cheetah, when she was around, was dope. So I do have things that I like about the film, but it's just at the bottom of the list. Next on the list is Warner Brothers Suicide Squad. Yes, I call it Warner Brothers Suicide Squad because David Ayer's cut has not been released. So release the Ayer cut. I would like to see what he was trying to do with this film, because when I watched this film, I actually enjoyed it, even with all the weird stuff, the edits, the weird dialogue that was reshot, the need to be humorous, all of the licensed music that's just in this film. It's all there, and it's just kind of like a bunch of noise, but every time I watch it, I see a great film within what I'm able to see with Warner Brothers butchering. And I definitely do think David Ayer might have something with his unencumbered version of the film, because I think the character dynamic here just works really, really well. Seeing the banter from Harley, going back and forth with everybody, seeing Will Smith's Deadshot being the way he is, Amanda Waller being the backdrop, Rick Flag, all of the characters in the film work really, really well. I think it's shot beautifully too. I think it has some great action in it. And honestly, even though it is a studio version, I kind of look at it as like an outcast version of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is what they were trying to do. I feel like they were trying to make this movie into Guardians of the Galaxy, but Ayer's just not that kind of guy. But I can tell with the music, it just feels like a film for outcasts, and that part I do like. I think there are some really comic book aspects to it, especially like, you know, Batfleck being in it, the way him and Joker had that, you know, that chase scene. I love that. It feels like some out of the animated series. I love how he dropped in on Deadshot. And even Jared's Joker, he gets a lot of shit, you know, and understandably so. I can get why people are not with the look, you know, the whole damage on the forehead is a bit on the nose, him having all the tattoos and blah, 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 blah. But honestly, I didn't mind it. I felt like this is like the gangster Joker of today's time. He has his same group of minions that carry stuff out for him. And I saw that in Jared Leto's Joker. There were so many moments of him that was like, oh, that's Joker. Like when the helicopter port opens and he's just shooting, laughing, like that is so Joker. I enjoyed it. So I do want to see Ayer's cut for sure, but it's gonna be a ton better than this. Just the fact that he said that it's all score and there is no licensing music, and how he describes the film as being a story about a bunch of broken characters fixing themselves through meeting each other. I'm like, there is something there that I really want to see. So I hope that the Ayer cut will be released sometime so we can see what he was doing. But as for right now, Warner Brothers Suicide Squad is at number 11. At number 10 is Black Adam, the recent joint starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the JSA. This one's a funny film because when I saw it in theaters, I didn't really care for it. I felt like it was generic. The script was just really, really bad, and I still feel that way, honestly. I think the script is this movie's biggest detractor because there's just certain dialogue in here that reminds me of stuff from the 2000s, the early 2000s, in like the worst way possible, not a good way. But knowing what I know now and then realizing they didn't make this movie to be a well-told story and have rich dialogue. This movie is just guns blazing with action, and I think they accomplished it, even though I still stand by that. Like, I think some of the action, it's not stuff that we haven't seen before, but it's just a lot of it, and I can say the CGI and the VFX all look pretty good. But at the end of the day, it's still generic, bombastic blockbuster in regards to how CBMs are these days. So it doesn't really do much of anything different, but it's a fun ride. Seeing the JSA is literally the best part. Once Hawkman shows up and he's fighting Black Adam, I could watch that all day. Like, it almost felt like X-Men First Class to me, in the sense with the way the characters work. It's this new team put together, even though we don't get much of anything from any of the characters, but it's a lot going on. The villain, most generic thing ever, but all in all, it's a fun time if you turn your brain off. I think it's I like to call it it's dumb fun, and it just is what it is. So at number 10, I have Black Adam. At number 9, I have Shazam Fury of the Gods. When I initially watched it, I didn't like a lot of it, and the third act was kind of cool, but even sitting on even more, it kind of went down for me, but I still do enjoy it because I think David F. Sandberg, he's a good director. And the one thing about this movie, like Black Adam, I don't love the movie overall, but there are things in the movie that I do really like. There are pieces in here and there that I really do enjoy, and more so from this one than Black Adam. That's why I got it in front of Black Adam. It doesn't have the same level of charm as the first one, and that's mostly because we don't spend that much time with the kids. I think the balance should have been there to have just as much time with the kids as the superheroes like the first one, and with that aspect of it gone, to me it brings the movie down quite a bit for me. But there are moments that I like. I like the third act, the pieces when Shazam is just going on full God mode, fighting the dragon, and the dome is dark and the lightning is flashing and the slow motion. Like, I really enjoy how that looked. I love the creature designs in the third act. It went the generic route opposed to the first movie, but it still had some things that I liked about it. When you do get back with the kids and seeing their regular life, I like how the progression it shows that everyone's trying to branch off and do their own thing. Everybody who's kind of become their own person, and while they are still a family, you can tell the family is kind of trying to split apart, and the whole movie is working on bringing them back together until the last act of the film. I enjoy it for what it is. I'm being really nice about this film as well because I do like David Sandberg as a director. He seems like a really, really good dude. He had a hand in me wanting to direct. So I almost feel like this isn't what he wanted to do personally. I think he was kind of forced into making this movie bigger and such on a grand scale, but I don't think that's his thing. I think he likes to keep things small and intimate, and that's why the first one worked so much better than this one, because this one kind of expanded the world more than I think David would want. But his sensibilities are still there, like as a director. Like, 'cause I think the opening sequences, the boardroom, again, but just kind of bigger scale. So there are things that I really, really do enjoy about the movie. So I'll say that. But at number 9, I have Shazam Fury of the Gods. At number 8, I have James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. This is a really good movie, honestly. When I did my first review, I even said that this film isn't really for me, but it is a really great movie. Cinematography, the writing, the story beats, the emotional character moments, The action is all good. The soundtrack is great. Like it's a stellar film, but it just isn't for me because of the type of humor it is. And this is a film that, like, you either really like this humor and you're with it or you're not. Like, for me, it's a little bit too crude, I think. I'm not really a huge fan of like sex jokes of that kind of nature. It's a little bit zany for me, and there's only so much that I can take of it. The humor is just a bit much for me, so I don't find myself watching this film a lot. Unlike the Guardians movie, I feel like the humor in that film is, with it being PG-13, there's only so much that you can say. So a lot of that stuff works for me, but here, with it being R, it's almost like Gunn specifically pushed his pen to change that humor into, again, of course, a more mature style of that humor. And for me, it just is a bit much, so it kind of makes the film, like I said, not as enjoyable for me. But outside of, my personal preference of humor, it's a great movie. Like, the action sequences in here are phenomenal. Like, Harley's breakout scene, stellar. It was done so well because we get to see multiple styles of fighting from Harley. It starts with the gun shooting, and she's on her John Wick-ish, and then she goes to get, the spear, and that's just an onslaught. Her running up the wall, doing flips, and all this other shit. Like, it's fantastic. There's this sequence when they invade the tower and they're just mowing through people. That shit is phenomenal. Like, for me personally, the first half of the film is where all a lot of the humor lies. But once you get to the second half and the mission really gets going, I really enjoy all of that from there, because the humor isn't as heavy-handed in that act because they're focused on getting to their goal. And I really enjoy that section, that section of the movie. Starro, when he gets unleashed, the fight between Rick Flag and Peacemaker is fantastic. I love that the shot of the helmet, and you see them fighting in the reflection as the camera moves. Great as shit, man. But overall, like I said, I do like the Suicide Squad. The humor is just a bit much for me, but that's personally the only thing wrong with it. And unfortunately, the humor doesn't really work. At number 7, I have Shazam. When I first watched Shazam, I wish that there was more action, right? The funny part about it is Shazam Fury of the Gods gave me more action, but I didn't really realize that to give more action, you have to take some of the heart away. And that made me like Shazam even more, because I prefer the heart this film had over the big scale action of the second one. This movie feels so intimate. It's so personal, having these kids and these relationships, seeing where they start out with Billy being just this loner kid, not trusting anybody, and for good reason as well, to, by the end of the film, he's like, y'all are my family, and you can actually feel that family bond because everyone's working so hard in the opposite directions. The family wants to be his family, but Billy is so focused on not caring and wanting to find his mom that he doesn't accept it. And then when he finally does accept it, once he figures out his mom ran out on him. And I think the story is really about that. All of the extra shit is just a plus, and they did it perfectly. I think Dr. Sivana was a great character. I think him being a solo, super-powered entity to take Shazam one-on-one, I think that was fantastic. I liked how they utilized the 7 sins in the boardroom scene. It reminded me of something out of a Raimi film, like the Dr. Octopus medical scenes. What that reminded me of, and I really love Shazam. I can definitely say that I love the first one a lot, even more so after seeing the second one. Another gripe that I did have is I thought Zachary Levi was hammering it on, and that's still an issue of mine. I will say that. Zachary Levi, I think he should have toned it down some. The fact that he was so right opposed to Billy, they're like completely different people, and I think that could have been married better to where grown Billy was acting more like younger Billy, or vice versa. But they seem like two different people. I still don't buy that they're the same person. And while I get that the adult version is supposed to be the version of the younger character that he always wanted to be, I don't see anything in young Billy than I do adult Billy. Still a gripe of mine. And in the second movie, they tried to fix it, but they made Billy act more like Zachary Levi than the other way around. So that is my one big issue, is that they don't work together. But other than that, though, I think it's a great film. It has so much heart. It has the dramatic adult moments that really bring you in. That's what makes the first one work more so than anything else. David F. Sandberg really came through and crafted something special with this one, and it was also able to pump some of his horror influence into this with the 7 Sins. Shazam at number 7. At number 6, I have Birds of Prey. I love this movie, man. I think that it feels like an episode of the animated series if the focus was on Harley Quinn. It's like just a day in Gotham in her shoes. That's exactly what it is. It's zany. It's not in timeline order. Harley's fucking crazy, so we don't really know what's real and what's not. And there are little things to show that. You know, when she goes into the cop station and she's shooting cops and all of that, and it's all these wacky colors. In my head, I'm like, really, this scene is very violent, and all of the colors and everything is just blood. But in her head, she sees pretty sparkles and colors, and she's just a nutball. So you get the story of Gotham through her lens, you know, being the narrator. And it really feels like an indie comic book movie. I love the action. The hand-to-hand combat scenes are amazing. Some of it is a little bit too much. The jail scene, it seems so unnatural to me. Like it felt choreographed, whereas a lot of the other stuff just felt natural and cool. I love the inclusion of the Birds of Prey. A lot of people had issues with it and they wanted more, but they gave me just enough to like make me understand who each character was, and then to see them kind of form at the end, it's like, I want to see that movie now. Like, what are they like? I thought Huntress was dope. Black Canary was ill with the way they showed her powers. And then on top of that, more than anything, this is a gorgeous movie. Gorgeous. Every scene is just lit so well. The production design, especially the third act with the carnival atmosphere, man. The score is really, really dope. I think it's underrated. I don't never hear anybody mention it as far as DCEU scores, but to me, it's up there. I love that hard riffing guitar when shit really kicks up a notch. Some people have a problem with Cass. I never was a fan of that character, so to me it doesn't really make a difference. I don't care. She ain't bothering me, you know what I mean? So I like Montoya. Black Mask, one of the illest DC villains. That boy was sharp. All them suits and the masks, and this right-hand man being Zaz, who just had this sadistic, creepy nature about him that he's sometimes doing wordless acting, just the way that he looks. And like, there's this part when he cuts the faces off. He does this thing, right? He has the knife and he peels it off. When he takes her face off, he's like, oh, it's just weird, but it works so well. So Birds of Prey, I love it, man. Now we're in the nitty gritty of the top 5, and at number 5, I have Aquaman. I have spoken about this movie so much, it doesn't even make sense. I have a YouTube video of why I love Aquaman. This movie makes me feel like watching The Mummy again. You know, the first Mummy with Brendan Fraser. The energy and the fun that it carries, it just reminds me of that. Can you poke holes places in this film? It's not a perfect film, but it is just so enjoyable. Jason Momoa takes us on a ride from the surface world to Atlantis to the middle of the earth. It's just done so well. And the script is not that great at all. And that just speaks to the power of James Wan. I need to call this thing James Wan's Aquaman because he made it work. He took this mediocre script, blew it up, and made people not give a fuck about how weak it was. But it really does work so well. Jason is just a lovable guy. Mira, she's okay, you know. She's not a standout or somebody that could be like made to film, but she's there for what she needs to be. With King Orm, one of the best DCEU villains. The type of shit that he talks the entire time is just so on point. I love how he speaks like a philosopher. And one of the big things about Aquaman, the action. From start to finish, it is just epic. Epic. And the thing about the film is every main character gets their shine. They get their moment that really pulls you in, and choreography is fantastic. The fact that we open with Atlanta fighting in a one take in this room, that sets the tone, and then it moves into current day, and then you get one of the best action sequences with Arthur infiltrating that submarine and just having his own warehouse moment like Batman. Ooh, so ill. You had the other set piece of Orm versus Arthur for the throne underwater, and it's so poetic that the third act fight is above water in Arthur's territory. Fighting Italy, oh man, the trench scene. When Arthur finally gets the suit and returns back to the battle and commands the sea, and he's wearing that classic Aquaman suit with the gold and green, and he has the trident. The cinematography is just mind-blowing. Like Juan totally snapped about this film. Aquaman is just a fun ride from beginning to end. I'm looking forward to Aquaman 2. It's one of my most anticipated CBMs of the year. And man, Juan just put his whole knee, elbow, everything into this film, and I just love Aquaman. So number 5, there you go. Now number 4, I have Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman. I think it's the perfect origin story for Wonder Woman, especially seeing her first in Batman vs Superman and getting the backstory about her. Seeing her as a young child, that her mom didn't want her to learn how to fight, because in actuality she is the god killer herself. But it just speaks to what destiny is, because even though somebody may not want something for her, Diana has this angst to want to learn how to fight, and then once she learns, she becomes the fighter of fighters. The movie shines so much because of the heart and the emotion it involves with Diana's character. You know, answering the call of needing to be what the world needs her for, opposed to just sticking to what her mother says. And you know, when she leaves the island, you can see how much it affects her, because she's not going to be able to go back. And to go through all of these many layers of like understanding why her mom was holding her back from the world, she still pushes through that to be the hero that we know her for. And that's what Wonder Woman is about. Like, I don't really see how you do a better Wonder Woman movie than this, honestly. You know, good luck to the DCEU for that, but I really don't, because Gal gives her best performance in this film. You can tell this character meant a lot to her, and she wanted to do it justice. You get all of the many aspects of Wonder Woman. She's a warrior, she's strong, she's loving, she's caring, she's protective. But again, don't fuck around with her, because the action sequences show you what type of time she's on. If you cross her, you do the wrong way, no man's land scene. Again, this is top 5 action sequences in the DCEU. Just how that scene was just built, and the fact that Warner Bros. Wanted to cut it, come on. She's trying to go across the land and everyone is stopping, but she's the only one to step up and say, no, this is what heroes do. And just goes from that point on. Spectacular film. A lot of people don't like the third act, but I really enjoy the third act. I like that she discovers her power by letting go of the rage, and she sees that she's more powerful when she's in control. I like the fight with her and Ares. The movie is shot well. Beautiful. Frame for frame. Like I said, pause it almost anywhere, you get a beautiful frame. That score, amazing. Chris Pine being Steve Trevor, amazing job. I like how they structured him in the movie. You know, they didn't make him a weak ass man to prop her up. I feel like a lot of films do that wrong when they have a female lead trying to make strong. They make everybody around her stupid, or everybody around her weak. But no, he was who he was supposed to be. He was no slouch. He didn't need any help. He was a soldier himself. He was getting down and dirty in the mud with her. So it just worked for me, man. So at number 4, Wonder Woman. At number 3, Man of Steel. I did a video about why I love this film, and to me, it's the Superman movie that I've always wanted. It answered questions that I've always wondered, because for those who don't know, I always liked Superman, but my biggest issue was like, why do people just know that he's good? To me, I'm like, he can do anything. Any hero on Earth, he's the one that can do anything. But people just kind of like are never afraid of him. They're afraid of a dude who's a human, like Batman. They're afraid of Spider-Man. Like, these are like human guys who can't just do anything. But Superman gets this pass, and like, how does he always know what to do? And Man of Steel is the answer to all of those questions. We get a Superman from the start that doesn't know what he's doing. He makes mistakes. Like, this movie makes Clark and Superman the most human he's ever been, in my eyes. Now, I get there are comics out there that probably depict this thing. I don't know. I'm not like a super duper comic aficionado. So if the stories are out there, cool. I'm not saying they aren't. But I know for me, with the comics that I owned, with the animated series and all that stuff that I watched, I never saw it depicted in this way. He felt human. He went to he always looked to his parents for wisdom, but here you actually feel it because he's making mistakes. He's learning as he goes. And man, there's just so much heart in this film. it's honestly difficult for me to even put it into words, but I can't somewhat, you know. I like the beginning, seeing Krypton and how it was before the planet blew up, because I've never seen anything like that. I thought that was dope. And to see this linear story happen as, you know, the present goes, we see glimpses of Clark's past and how it got him to the way he is. You know, the Pa Kent moment when he dies, a lot of people hate it, but I loved it because if my dad would have told me to stop and not save him, I'm a kid, I'm gonna listen to him. Point blank period. So I love that moment. There's so much heart in there. And obviously, score. Easily the best score within the DCEU, personally. Like, that Man of Steel score is just so beautiful. Cinematography, gorgeous. Henry Cavill is the best Superman, period, to me. I'm looking forward to what James Gunn is gonna do, but boy, good luck. I don't know who you're gonna find who is gonna do better than Henry. I think it can be done, I guess, but for me, he looks like he's ripped right out the comic. The way he even talks, like his stature, the way he walks, he is Superman. He understands the character so well. It's such a shame to see him not playing the character, and it just sucks that people didn't really give it the shot that he deserved, because he was a great Superman. You know, you got to take into consideration he's been Superman for a day in Man of Steel, but still commanded that respect. Like, specifically, there's this one small moment in the movie that they're talking about how to stop Zod, and they're in like the desert, and he's walking. He says something like, "If I can get that ship there, I can send them all back." Like, his tone of voice, like, that is Superman. Whew. Oh man, and like nothing we've seen, the action in Man of Steel, come on. So, at number 3, Man of Steel. At number Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I did another video last year, I believe it was, of why I love the film. And again, it answers those questions about Superman that I've always had. How does he know? You know, if he's all good. So Lex Luthor's motives for me are literally what I've always thought. So this movie clicked for me, personally. It just worked. I love that there's always a gray area in what's good and what's bad. I love having the older Batman and Ben Affleck's Batman. The best Batman, period. Like, Ben Affleck's Batman is just perfection. Like, looks the part, talks the part, has the physique, has the stature, the demeanor. It's all there. I think BVS, to me, I know people don't like it. I know that it's split half and half between the fans, but I love that. Wow, it's so big and grand of an idea to have Batman fighting Superman. The story is actually pretty tight, intimate. It only takes place, for the most part, between Metropolis and Gotham. You know, you have your moments when you go, you know, to Africa and you're outside of the country, but for the most part, everything takes place within 2 cities. But it just feels so big yet contained, and I really like that. Love the dialogue. I think this is the movie right here. When I was finding my cinema self, this movie made me understand writing. This movie made me listen to writing and know what to look for, because, you know, as a retired rapper, the many metaphors and similes and all that stuff caught my ear when I was hearing things. You know, the first thing that caught me was when Alfred says to Bruce, like, if it even is a she, for all we know, it could be a phantasm. And I was like, whoa. Is this a metaphor for the Batman Mask of the Phantasm? And from that point on, my ears just opened to everything. And there's just so many different layers to the dialogue, cinematography. I mean, when you put Zack Snyder and Larry Fong together, iconic. And the thing about this film is it's not even action-packed, honestly. It's more of a political thriller, in the sense of Lex Luthor moving all these pieces around to frame Superman for certain things and frame Batman for certain things. And like I said, it's just this mixing plot plan that can be confusing, but I think it's made to be like that on purpose. From, you know, you can understand it from multiple watches. Let me stop talking about this film, because I can talk about it forever. Love BVS. It was my favorite superhero film of all time until the #1 spot, which I'm pretty sure you already know. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my #1 film in the DCEU, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League. 4 hours of epic scale in a superhero film that we have never seen before. I mean, this thing has like 8 big action set pieces, which is crazy for Zack to be able to get his cutout, and something that the fans, you know, campaigned for so long. I'm just happy that it's here. The 2-year anniversary just passed, the Snyder's Cut, and there's nothing that I can say about this movie that hasn't been said. I need to do a video about why I love Zack Snyder's JL, because this film, like his other two, for me personally, they taught me a lot. It taught me that vision makes all the difference, because there are some of the same things in the Abomination that I didn't even mention on this list because it's not worthy of it, that are in Zack's cut, but there are things cut out. The color is different, the aspect ratio is different, and all of those things make this film completely different because of what the creator's vision is. And that is the biggest takeaway from this film, is don't cut the legs off of a creator, let them create, and you're gonna get something magnificent. I mean, come on, we got Darkseid. The history lesson was 5 minutes, and we got all of that epicness and that vibe. The score, phenomenal. Superman in a black suit, phenomenal. Wonder Woman gets a warehouse scene, phenomenal. Steppenwolf's redesign, phenomenal. Getting more into the nightmare world to understand what the hell was really going on with that from BVS. I mean, come on, opens the door to so many different places you can go with that. And I know we're not gonna get Zack's, Justice League 2 and 3, but just having that little bit, that little piece of what was for the future is enough for me to be satisfied, because my mind can kind of understand what was gonna happen and where we were going with it. Like, come on, apocalyptic Mad Max type Justice League movie. All the different characters in this film, this to me is a DC encyclopedia of a movie with all the different places it goes. Cyborg being the heart of the film, Ray Fisher out-acting damn near everybody is just incredible. I love the aspect ratio. It makes the movie feel like mythic and larger than life. Color palette, of course, is gorgeous. I love, the dialogue and the performances. Everybody here, like I said, Ray Fisher's overacting everybody, because I think this is his first shot, but everybody's performing at such a heightened level that we just bring it. Flash running time back, like epic, nothing short of it. So before I keep talking about this movie for the next 10 hours, that's my #1 DCEU movie. And honestly, I don't know if it'll ever be top period, because this is my favorite comic book movie, like, in general. Zack Snyder's JL. Will it be top? I doubt it, just because it did what I wanted it to be. And I feel like the movie was made for me, personally, and everything about it just works. You can poke holes in it, sure. It didn't need to be 4 hours. There's a lot of slow motion, there's a lot of focus on shots that could have been trimmed down, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck. Love it. I wouldn't change anything about it. And so that's my ranking. Let me know below, what is your ranking? And again, be respectful. This is just my list. I respect your list, respect mine. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. But until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.